shaping transformation for us was really important because I believe it was like 8 years ago we came across the lots of work from my grandfather and my father that were stowed away in a small storage space that nobody knew about. So that was pretty exciting to find all of that material. And for us, I think we felt as a responsibility, no, to have all of that, made public through the book, through the exhibition, where we worked with Barry Bergdahl, which was an amazing experience. And I think why we landed in the name of shaping transformation was that really Sordo Madaleno has been doing architecture and urban development for now 87 years. And we believe almost Mexico and Sordo Madaleno have this relationship and on how it has been transforming during the decades. No, and I believe it's really interesting to see through the eyes of Sordo Madaleno and its projects the development of a city as Mexico and a country as Mexico. So that's why we talked about shaping transformation, and as well because we talk about different typologies. We talk from residential to this as well, more challenging and bigger urban projects that have been changing small parts of the city. So it doesn't matter the typology, but we believe that there are lots of things to be said through our projects and how that has been changing, through 3 generations now. It's definitely been something super positive for me. I believe, the all the history of Sordo Madaleno during all of these decades has been quite interesting, and there's a lot of knowledge there to really just grasp. No, so I always go back to the past, and not only the past of Sordo Madaleno, but really any place we're working with or any project. I really love history and the culture, and for Sordo Madaleno, I think what it's quite peculiar is that it's our family's practice. It's a studio, so it's not like these big firms that after a certain period when the founders are not there, then the focus maybe changes. Maybe some of the values are maintained, but the focus maybe is different. But Sordo Madaleno is still personal. It's still us in the family, my father and my 2 brothers. And I believe that is a little bit of our secret weapon on how we, continue towards the future. Because I believe architecture, it really is the reflection of the aspirations of a society, and the current society and the society that wants to build the future as well. So I believe that it's really important for the next generation to step up and bring their own ideas and their new and fresh ways of seeing how architecture can really create something of a positive change or just a positive dynamic through a project. So I believe that's definitely something that we're really proud of, and that we plan to keep for the hopefully next 3 generations. I think first of all, it's a huge responsibility, as we've been talking about. Most of our work, I would say, has been always developed and designed in Mexico, and that's our home country. We know the culture, we're rooted to that place, and I think that's why you were just saying, how the architecture in all of these different places it has now become so relevant and so interesting. And I believe it's because we are looking back to the roots. We are going back in the past, but not as nostalgic, but to learn something. No, so we're learning from sustainable materials. We're learning from sustainable practice, vernacular architecture. All of those things are really interesting for us, and that's why I was so interested, as the third generation of Sordo Madaleno, to become more of a global practice. But my ambitions and ideas were to learn. That's the whole point of becoming global, is to learn from other cultures, and because we've seen this in fantastic architecture firms or architects, how they learn from different cultures and then they bring it back home and they create something quite special. But I believe if we're gonna act, as Latin American architects, for example, in the Middle East or Eastern Europe, we really need to, that design process needs to be, really relevant in terms of the just research, the local culture, local materials, local resources, and as well the social dynamics, because that at the end is what the buildings are creating. So I think that's the responsibility that you need to have when you're acting in a different place. But these things are, they share the same values as our approach in Mexico, because we did we understand the weather, we understand the social dynamics, all of those things, but we need to translate that to different places in the world. But that's exciting, because I think you as an architect always need to be exploring and learning and going out of, definitely, of your comfort zone. When you talk about national identity, and when you're talking specifically about Mexico, it's quite complex. Because you have obviously the pre-colonial, the colonial, and the post-colonial, all of these different cultures within the country. Because within the country there are, I don't know the number, but it's quite extensive. So it's what's really the identity, because lots of people believe, Mexican architecture maybe is the use of color or Barragan, but I think that's a personal expression of what Luis Barragan was doing with Chucho Reyes at that, the painter, at that specific point in time. But really, I believe that Mexican architecture is quite more than that. It's not about, for me, it's not about the color. For me, it's about the use of resources in the most smart way. How you create the space where you create, just a nice atmosphere, a garden, a courtyard, a place where you can really be embedded in the different elements. So it's, I believe, in terms of Sordo Madaleno, we don't have a style, or I think the style is our process, and the design process that we do in the projects, and the research, and all of these things that really nurture the project and the final image of a building. And when I'm thinking about the next project, I'm not really interested in the form of the building. I'm more interested in the dynamics, the materiality, the local craftsmanship, and all of these things that would guide us to make the right decisions to create a nice project that can be in that specific place. So I believe that that's really interesting in the sense of working in different countries, different continents. Is that the actual project? And I would love for me to ask you probably what consistency you see through all of our projects, but I think it's definitely quite rooted, and that would be my, that's my biggest hope, that our projects, they talk about where they are. Also, as architects, we're always mindful about this word innovation. Like you want to be innovative, you want to do the new thing. Well, for me, it's not such, there's no such a thing. I believe for me, architecture is looking towards the past, so that's tradition, but applying it to the future with the current technology that we have today, and that becomes innovation in this sense, or that becomes a new way of doing things. Because by learning from, the past, really, that's the only way you can project to the future. You know? And that's the balancing act. How when you are within one country, one city, and or one group of people, what can they offer to the building itself? It's not all about you and the practice. It's about their knowledge and how that can be applied into what you almost become like the director of the orchestra in some way. And I think that's how the buildings really become quite powerful. Architecture for us, it's much more than our profession. It's almost our trade. It's our passion. It's what we do. And it's funny because at the beginning, actually the first project that the firm did, my grandfather, I believe it was 1936, something like that, if I'm not mistaken, 37, was actually a real estate development made by him, and he did the architectural project as well. So both things. And, his true passion was architecture, but he understood that to make his passion or to make a building, he needed to find a developer that really understood the vision. And I think that's super interesting that you're not waiting for someone to knock on your door, you're looking for the opportunity to go and do it yourself. And I think that is some of the best lessons my grandfather did to my father, and then my father did passed on to my brothers and myself, is that you need to go out and look for work. Work is not gonna come knocking to your door, and in many ways, the real estate arm was the vehicle to do architecture, and that was the whole point, because that was the true passion. So and now in where we stand now, obviously my two brothers involved. Javi's an architect as well, with me working on the practice, but as well on the real estate side as Jose Juan, my other brother. Now we can actually, because my father did everything himself. When I first entered the practice was, I believe there were like probably 40 people. And, that comes with a responsibility to those 40 people and the families, because, this is a big extended family, what we call Sordo Madaleno now, with 200 and I believe 80 people now, so definitely there's a responsibility to all of them, because I would love just to do some small pavilions, houses, or nice museums, but there's a responsibility to challenge the different typologies, to do work that creates, something better to society, and that's what we're trying to do here in Sordo Madaleno. If you actually are invested, not emotionally only or through your work, but financially, that's a double commitment, obviously. And but yeah, I think that has been in Mexico. That's the way you do things. You cannot be only the architect that is doing these beautiful buildings. You really need to put the puzzle together. You need to talk to the city officials. You need to bring the community together. You are much more than that. Than just designing the building itself. So. When you're talking about scales, I guess the one that really is important for us is the human scale. No, and at the end, it's, as I've said, it's really a passion of what we do, architecture, and it's something that we love to do. And we don't mind if it's a small intervention, it's even a chair, a pavilion, or it's a huge urban development. I think if you understand the power of architecture, you can actually create a benefit, no matter what size of project you're doing. And I think that's what is beautiful about it, that you can move across typologies, no? I've always loved London. It's my favorite city in the world, and but as well, I believe it's definitely in terms of the strategic position. You know, in terms of the relationship, in terms with Mexico and with Asia. I mean, we are in a great position here, as well. I think the architectural discourse, there's a lot of it being discussed here. I think architecture has always been a fundamental topic in the UK, and I believe, you know, for us as a Mexican firm, we have a lot to bring to the table. So I believe, you know, as Latin America, we believe that the design of Latin America and lots of things are worthwhile, you know, just showcasing, you know, because the cities in Latin America, the growth in terms of population, all of these things that we have need to manage. I think there's lots of lessons learned that I believe would help in different parts of the world to create solutions. No, and yeah, I believe London definitely is. Now it's been 2 years, and I think it's going strong. And something that I was really interested in is that it's quite international as well. So you get people from different parts of the world. I think that definitely helps us nurture the design process, and that's, you know, something that we are looking forward to. Well, hopefully, what's next for Sordo Madaleno is that we can consolidate our position as an international practice with projects in different continents. We're really excited to have the opening of our first project in Asia by the end of the year. So that's something that we're looking forward. And, you know, hopefully we can have something as well. You know, in Europe, we're doing some stuff in Spain. But I believe, you know, hopefully that's the near future, but the future would be definitely to see, you know, my daughter or the kids of my brothers running around and creating their own vision of what architecture should look like in the next century, you know?